Hey, it's Jim at Jim Reviews. We're doing a weird one today. Uh, I feel inclined to touch on this topic as almost a public service because I have guided so many people down the path towards the Monroe teachings that I don't even have contact with anymore. And so I feel like putting out there what I've learned about this over the years and how my opinion has changed on it, just in hopes that it may be helpful to anyone who is stumbling on this. So I pulled this up just to show you that, yeah, okay, I'm not a big book reader, but I'm a listener. And when I first came into these books, I was absolutely enthralled with Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute because it's really an unbelievable thing when you learn that this is all true. And you may be like me, you may have had an out of body experience yourself unintentionally, and that's how you came into this, or you may have learned about it through yoga, or you may have learned about it through some other form of occult teaching. But make no mistake, this is occult stuff, okay? And so I want to give you my background and how I came into this and what I've learned about it since, okay? So I grew up in a atheist, scientific rationalist worldview that never went to church, okay? And just due to my career, I had a lot of stress, and a few years ago I got into meditation. And I got deeper and deeper into meditation until eventually I had an experience that I couldn't explain. And I went looking deeper into consciousness and OBEs. And I, of course, found Robert Monroe, who is seems like a very sweet man and tells a very compelling story. And for the most part, I believe him. I believe that what he's saying in these books is mostly true. I never myself learned how to astral project at will, but I certainly tried, and it certainly helped me a little bit. Like these these gateway tapes, they can really bring down your stress. You can go deep into meditation. But yeah, no, I just want to share the message, which is how I went from scientific rationalist, atheist worldview into believing and knowing that there's a spiritual realm that we're a part of, and then finally winding up here, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you may not want to hear this, you may not be ready to hear this, but these people have known about this stuff for a long time. It may be framed in a way that appeals to your scientific mind, but that's what they call sorcery and accessing the heavens, right? Forcing your way into the heavens. So the Christians aren't as stupid as you might think as a person who is newly discovering the astral plane, okay? And so, because I have introduced so many people to this, I feel I need to put out there, this is just a service. If you're getting into this, you need to know that these people know about this, and they always have, and they warn against it. Why? Well, let's talk a little more about it. Let's talk a little more about Bob Monroe and the things that he says that are concerning, okay? That have become concerning to me over the years as I come to understand things like natural law, okay? And I'll give you an example. I always found it disturbing. I can't remember which book it's in, but Bob essentially says that you're not going to be judged by your creator for anything that you do, including and above murder, right? Bob says that murder is just another learning experience. That's what he says, and I can't remember which one of his books he says that, but he essentially says that murder is just another experience. Okay. Another thing that is really big with Bob and is essentially a central premise of his system is that man's consciousness continues to ascend and eventually becomes as a god compared to how he is in his present form. Okay? Listen, I don't care what you believe in. It, when you talk about the idea of Luciferianism and what it is philosophically, there's this, but that's pretty much it, right? So all I'm saying is you may not believe in God, you may not believe in this, but what you need to understand is that what this man is teaching you is related to this, and it's the polar opposite of this. So in our culture, there's so many streams of information that they try to paint, the deliverer tries to paint it as neutral. But in actuality, it is directly in line with what the Bible, what the Christians will call Luciferianism. And this astral projection thing, this is called, this is not, I want you to understand, is you think you're really smart and you've discovered something new right now? And I understand. I was very excited about this. I thought nothing could be more important than learning how to do this. Christians have known about this for thousands of years. It's called forcing your way into the heavenly realm uninvited. And Bob Monroe will tell you himself in his own books that there are very dire consequences to doing this. It's not that everyone suffers them. Again, I don't remember which book it is, but I believe it's Ultimate Journeys. His friend loses his consciousness, loses his soul. He gets sucked into some, I can't remember, guys. They're in some room and he gets sucked in, and he basically gets distracted. His consciousness can't handle what he's seeing, and he gets pulled in, and they're just like, yeah, he's gone. He's not coming out, right? Understand, guys, that the Monroe Institute, Bob Monroe, they want to frame this as if it exists outside of established religions. These guys have known, understand, these guys know Christians are not as stupid as you think. They know all about this stuff. They just use different words, okay? This is the occult. It's sorcery. And it is just pasted over with scientific rationalist language, okay? It's based in Luciferianism. The story of Lucifer. What did Lucifer want, guys? Lucifer believed that he could be as a god himself, right? This is literally what Bob Monroe is teaching. So, again, you may think that this is just a crazy belief system, but I'm telling you, man, this is philosophy. It's just the core philosophy. Do you respect the hierarchy of nature and of God, or do you seek to elevate yourself in it? Be very careful dabbling in the Gateway experience, in the Monroe Institute. You are forcing your way into the heavenly realms, and there are consequences that you really need to think about whether it's worth it. And by the way, in the Bible, Paul, Paul is called to the heavens. It's one thing if you're called there. Bob Monroe himself, his OBEs came on to him before he developed the techniques, okay? But it's one thing if you are called to the heavens yourself. It's a whole other to be forcing your way in there. So I would just encourage you, if you're getting into the Monroe Institute, you're finding these programs, I would encourage you to find out what Christians have been saying about this kind of stuff for a long time. Because it ain't new, baby. There's nothing new about it.